All right. Click on. It always makes me click on Instagram after. So, all right. Welcome everyone to another week of Chicago Landlord Secrets, #1 property management specific podcast live show in the country, in the world. We're going to go with. You ready? Is that cool, Tim?
I like it. I think we're there.
We're on episode 11, so we're crushing it in podcast world. So 90 or 8, some crazy number of percentage never make it past 10. We officially did it, so we should celebrate.
There you go. I'm down. You know what? I'm gonna give myself the day off tomorrow. That's how I'm gonna celebrate.
Oh, it's Good Friday. All right, you're practicing. I got you. That's great. I didn't even realize that. So tomorrow will be an easier day, probably in my world as well too. Just banks closed. Banks aren't closed on Good Friday, are they?
Banks are. I think they might be. They're either going to be closed tomorrow or Monday. Generally, I forget which one. They
got Easter on Sunday. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we were talking last week about a bunch of cool things. What do you got on your docket for this week?
So I am on a personal level. I'm trying to close on a flip, and have a nice. We were supposed to close this week, and we have not closed because the village has not completed their inspection. So I'm buying it's basically a hoarder house, but everything is pretty nice. Was redone before they moved this tenant in that was a hoarder or whatever you want to call them. So the village doesn't want to inspect it because it's too dirty, but they won't let me close on it until they inspect it. So it's been a fun battle going back and forth for about a week to hopefully close next week. Now they're finally agreeing to come out and inspect the property, which we'd be fine with them not doing it, but it's their rules that they have to do it. So
is there any chance in that scenario? I'm not sure what city you're talking about, that they would ever waive it or
it's Sauk Village. That was the original idea. Is I went and signed the waiver. The waiver basically says that, hey, just clean it out, buy it, clean it out, and then within 90 days have us come and inspect, which we were fine with. That's sort of what we expected. And it's funny because I actually talked to the building department during the process of AI and all that stuff, and that's what we thought we were going to be able to do. So the waiver's been signed and everything like that. And we actually thought that we were signing the waiver to not have the inspection until after closing and after we cleaned it out. And then they said, no, we're still not letting you close until we do the inspection. And that went back and forth for a little while. And now they're finally scheduled. The first available date is the April 6th. I just found out today. So they're going to be going to inspect April 6th. Which I'm sure they'll show up and then say, we're not going to inspect it. Here you go, just close. Because that's what they told me we're going to do. So I don't know if it's just the inspectors not talking to the village or the village not talking to the inspectors or what, but they're on multiple different pages.
So they're working on Easter Monday, so that's good. So I didn't realize that at first, but you're the buyer in this situation. So you're buying a property, a hoarder property. Your plan is to gut it out. What are you going to do? How are you going to get the tenant out there? Like, what's your plan there?
I was about to say something that was going to sound really bad. So fortunately, there is no tenant there. Unfortunately, per what I found out, that it was a elder senior that, per the village, was taken out by ambulance. I'll leave it there.
Gotcha.
So there is no tenant. There's signs that he owns several cats because there is a lot of litter boxes and a lot of stuff in there. I'm hoping we've seen a few cats come in and out of the garage. I'm hoping that there's none left in the house. I have not seen any or heard from any. But yeah, we're gonna clean it out. I mean, it's crazy, and this goes to talking about landlords and doing inspections, right? This house, because you can look up and see when it was last sold and all that, and all the stuff done to it. This guy bought it 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe now, depending on what month we're in and all that. I didn't do the math that closely. He put a new roof on it, put new siding on it, redid everything inside the house, and then put a tenant in, and it appears never really checked on the tenant, never really saw what the tenant was doing to it, and it's you can't walk through it. It's crazy.
Wow. So that leads me. That's probably a good topic along those lines of, so like cats are, I'm a pretty pet friendly landlord, but cats can, if you have the wrong tenant in there. And again, I'll always say that quality of a tenant's usually going to be hinged on the quality of the actual adult or applicant for the place. But cats can do some damage. We bought a property recently, and there's like 10 cats, and there's like two. Any cat lovers out there, like sometimes cats will. There's like a alpha cat, and they led the way, and that cat would run around this house, jump at the place. The guy couldn't even control the cats. Like ultimately, he like let these. The place was destroyed from the cats. Like bookshelves turned over. Like cats run amok on the place, and they peed everywhere. And then they're knocking over. They actually had a bunch of the where they I've lost words where they go to the bathroom at, and those were knocked over. So you run into those issues with pets of like cat urine, even going through carpet, going into paneling, getting on trim work and stuff like that, where you really have to, if you want to get rid of that smell. Like we went and redid the hardwood floors. We did a bunch of stuff because we did not want that smell to come back through it, and that's something that. I see when we take over properties that had maybe dog or pet issues, and a lot of times we get hired because of that previous experience. Like they don't take all the steps. They might throw an oxidizer in there, which works. We should maybe share what that is, and that usually doesn't work for like deep issues or really kind of pee stains that have really soaked into hardwood.
Yeah. I'm not a cat person at all, so I'll freely say this. I think dogs get a terrible rap. I think everyone's afraid of dogs, and the dog's gonna do all this. Like, I'll take my odds on a dog not doing damage to a property over a cat 100% of the time. Like the worst damage that I see, like a dog. If you get a really bad dog, which again, like you said, it's not a bad dog. It's a bad owner that mistrained the dog. But the worst you get is they get locked in the rooms and they claw through the doors. So you have to replace some bedroom doors. Cats, I mean, that urine, like you said, that urine, it gets stuck in the carpet. And it's also why I'm a huge fan of waterproof LVP now, because it doesn't sink in. At least I have never had that experience where a cat has penetrated the waterproofing on it. Whereas with hardwood or carpet, it can. But that's you can't get that out. When you're tearing out carpet, you're tearing out, like you said, the trim around and everything like that to try to remove that smell. And then you got to try to find it because it dried up already, and you're trying to find it. It's
Have you ever used an oxidizer? We've used it for smoke, and that's worked for us more so than pet smells. But have you ever used one of those?
what is it again? Sorry.
So an oxidizer, I could pull up a link here for it, but it's like a little machine that basically purifies the air, I guess.
Yeah,
it's supposed to
we
help.
call it something else. I'm trying to think what we call it. Where it basically sucks the air out of the house and then cleans it and cleans it. We have one of those that we use. It works pretty well, but if it's the problem is if it's stuck somewhere, like you said, like if it's in the trim, an O2 machine. Okay, that's John. That's what I'm used to calling it. Yeah, I don't know. An O2, I guess, is oxygen, so it's probably the same word. I'm just not used to the translation.
Yeah.
Yeah. We use them. The
No,
problem
oxidizer I think is wrong.
okay. We use that, but if it's in the carpet, right, you can clean all the air and you take the machine out and then it comes up from the carpet again. So it's you have to have the main problem solved and then you can clean it out. It worked really well for smoke though. We've used it for unfortunately for human feces. That was an interesting one. And then deodorize like major carpet cleaning deodorizers. You can get away with sometimes if it's not a huge issue. And just a little bit here and there could work.
Well, speaking on the topic of destroyed houses, I talked to an investor this morning. I just want to hear your take on it because this is a lot of your world as well too. So, investor called me up today, and this was his problem. He said that I have a single family home on the south side of Chicago, and I put a Section 8 tenant in there a year ago, and the tenant inspection is coming up right now, and he went to go pre-walk it. He does a pre-walk, try to pass the first time. And the house is absolutely like destroyed, like everything. Like the appliances are just going up the wall with crust. Like all the light fixture domes are just broken. Like just everything that you can imagine like is broken. Like, and he's like, I don't want to fix it. And I said, he's like, I want to get this tenant out. Like, how do you handle those situations where a Section 8 tenant just you go show up for the I mean probably 10,000. He shares some of the pictures, maybe $10,000-$12,000, and this is a small like 2-bedroom, 1 bath ranch on a slab. Like, how do you handle that?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, with Chicago, and we this show has talked about it a lot. There's not a great way because the eviction process takes so long, and with CHA, it's even worse because even if they want to move, they can't. But part of it is, you threaten to. There's a couple ways you can take it. One is if you think you can get them to move out on their own, you offer cash for keys and you offer them, hey, look, I'm about to report you to CHA. You're going to lose your voucher for all this damage unless you pay. Because the rules basically state that, hey, you can charge them for all that damage, and if they don't pay, they lose their voucher. The catch-22 with that is if they lose their voucher, then you're out because you have to go evict them, and there's 8 months without getting rent payments. So it's a catch-22, but if you're at the point already where they're about to do an inspection anyways, you're not going to get paid. So I would probably, go and start to charge them for it, and then report that they haven't paid the charges to CHA for the damage they did. And the one thing to be careful with is make sure it's by Chicago security deposit rules. It's tenant caused damages. I think a lot of people will take normal wear and tear, like a toilet seat or something like that, and try to blame that on the tenant, which I can see both sides of it. However, the city of Chicago looks very much on the tenant side as that being wear and tear. So see what you can prove is not normal. Obviously, chandeliers or breaking light fixtures and things like that, that's not normal wear and tear. You should never be touching it and all that stuff. So you can prove that pretty easily and then charge them for it and then use that for them to lose the voucher, but you're still gonna have to get them out somehow.
Is there
So maybe
any is there any repercussions again? Like, say, and this is not what I advise them to do, but is there anything that like call up CHA now and just say, hey, it got destroyed, or after the inspection gets done, it gets documented, like because CHA inspected a year ago. That was his point he made to me. It's like CHA saw that this place was in immaculate shape before this tenant moved in, and now it looks like this. It's not like I went in there and did this. Like, where's the? That seems very logical, right? But that you and me are not up against a logical system. So there's no in between there. It's more of get them out or fix it, and maybe charge it back. Maybe get some money back. Maybe you tell on them. Maybe they get in a little trouble, or maybe their hand is forced to pay for it. Like there's no. It doesn't seem like there's any good options. Correct?
not really. So when you get the report back, CHA will put on the report, this is a tenant caused problem, this is a landlord caused problem, which I guess the best way to put it at a federal level, when the report was mandated to put that way, uh, it makes sense. Like, hey, this is not normal wear and tear. The tenant has to fix this, right? Uh, the problem is, in reality, we see it oftentimes where it's not divided equally. It's not something that should, in my opinion, be the tenant's responsibility. Isn't, even though they broke it. So there's some merit in letting it go and seeing what CHA says, because they might give you you might get a really good inspector that goes, hey, this tenant's destroying the place, and put it all on the tenant. At the end of the day, though, the punishment to the tenant is they lose their voucher.
Which
The
screws you
CHA,
over.
which screws you over. So CHA is not going to help you make that money back, and it's still there's not a good way. Even though, and I'm going to throw them under the bus a little bit. Not that I mind at all, but see, this is it. HUD has come out and said that they can use funds to pay for repairs that a tenant caused. They've come and said that you can, like we talked about last week, that you can use funds for hold deposits. So the fact that CHA doesn't, and they rather use those funds to have more people with the voucher or to be able to house more people, etc., instead of using it to pay for what they can pay for, is their choice. So it's it's on them, and I don't think they're going to change anytime soon.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, it's a man. I feel I say this often. Is more of like, man, it's just part of the his situation is extreme, but the overall Section 8 process in Chicago ends up being like, it's just kind of cost of doing business, man. Like
Yeah.
that's kind of the one of the risks. Now, you could ultimately say it goes back to screening, right? It's more of a screening
Mm-hmm.
problem than anything.
Goes back to screening. It also goes, I mean, it goes to your choosing your investment in the first place, right? Like Chicago is not. I've had a lot of people come to me because they're investing in Ohio under Section 8 or investing in Detroit under Section 8, and they go, Chicago seems like the next logical spot. Chicago is not a great spot to invest with the intention of having a CHA tenant for a few reasons. One, we can't. So in Ohio, right, I can legally go buy something in the ghetto in Cleveland and say I'm only renting this to a Section 8 tenant. In Illinois, that's discrimination. That's illegal. The second part of it is in Ohio, the market rent might be $800. They're going to pay, Cleveland specifically, they're going to pay $1,200 or $1,300. Even here in Cook County, if you go to some of these suburbs in the southeast suburbs or southwest suburbs in Cook County, you can get 1.5 to 2 times market rent for a Section 8 tenant. So the risk weighs out. Hey, I might have these issues, but I'm also collecting an extra $1,500 a month. So the risk works. The city of Chicago, the CHA program pays often less than market or at market. So it's if you get a good tenant and you screen for it right and you have a good tenant, there's some advantages to it. But there's also I wouldn't buy a house with the intention in Chicago, with the intention of I'm only going to rent it CHA.
Gotcha. All right, man. I kind of answered that question similar to how you would have, or at least kind of give my
Yeah.
version of that breakdown. But I figured, hey, we're talking here, and I'm sure other people will go through this, so I figure I bring it up here for us to discuss. So thank you for that. Moving on, as far as I got this pretty cool new AI tool that I'm messing with through a group I'm in, as I was telling you before, that basically gives daily updates on local, federal, and state and county laws, rules change or proposed rule changes. And one of them, just in the 5 minutes I was messing with it, I saw the proposed bill SB 3504 that was proposed in February 2026. And I think it's only been proposed, it hasn't gone anywhere yet, but it would be to mandate that anybody with 15 units or more, building 15 units or more. So if you got a 28 unit courtyard, this applies to, or a high rise. So most of the landlords that you may work with doesn't apply for, but I know we have a few buildings this, but this is state law that would require that you have to do tenant credit report recording for rent payments, which is not a bad thing. We offer it as a supplement service now, but that's something that's on the horizon. What are your thoughts about that?
So people watching may not know, but this is the first time that I'm not the I'm usually the one that the group goes to for political advice, and AI has me beat because up until right before we went live, I knew nothing about this. So I'm retiring my political advocacy to AI, and we'll just bow down. So I googled it as we were talking. So it's got a couple interesting things here. One is it allows us to charge $5 plus the actual cost of service. So at least in a world right now where we're expecting a bunch of new laws to come through that prohibit us, which is also hilarious to me because aren't they also trying to pass, it's getting rejected, but weren't they just trying to pass like 3 weeks ago a bill that stopped us from any erroneous charges? Now
Yeah.
they're passing a bill that says, hey, landlords, you can charge this amount and do this. So you get an extra $5 per place. There's an opt-in, opt-out. But here's my favorite part: the options to have timely rent payments reported. As a landlord, I report both, obviously, but the negative ones is what I want to report. because that will warn other landlords. And I think as a whole, for landlords to report negative rent payments is a huge. Tenants get to the 10th of the month, the 15th of the month, they haven't paid their rent, they had something go wrong, and they're between, do I pay my credit card or do I pay my rent? Well, in Chicago, you already got the max late fee. They can't charge you anymore for a late fee. An eviction is going to be 10 months, so that's not it's not going to happen anytime soon. You have time to catch up. A credit card is going to keep charging you interest. A car payment's going to they're going to tow your car, 35 days out after you miss a payment. So a lot of tenants, when they get into that tight bind, rent is the last thing paid. So I think that reporting late payments changes that because it affects their credit all of a sudden. It's been a huge, we're C and D class area that we manage in. Most of our tenants are paycheck to paycheck and are definitely lower income, and we're at above a 90% collection rate, which for industry is insane for C and D class. For A class, obviously you should be closer to 98, 98%, 99%, whatever that is. But when you're dealing with all C and D, above 90% incredible in my opinion. And a lot of that has changed since we started reporting to credit, because a lot of these people don't want to have to. They want to be able to go get a new credit card, or they want to be able to go get a car, and things like that. And if you're lowering their credit score, they're not going to do it. So to me, that's the big one. And I wonder when they put it like that, because it's saying they have to opt in, opt out. Is there anything in the bill that's going to make it harder for us to report negative payments? So that would be my question for the bill.
Yeah, I definitely. So we do offer it as part of one of our packages, and I always like the idea of it, just like you said, entices people to have to make that decision to pay you over, because it could affect their rent. And we actually even use that for leverage when we're trying to collect. Hey, listen, we're letting you know right now, like this gets reported on this date. Just if you pay, then it's not an issue. But so it is definitely an encourager, and hopefully, it to me, it feels like an equalizer in a way at times. So on that note, for us, February and usually March tends to be our lowest amount of open collections, especially in the C and D class side. A lot of the same stuff that you play in, and that's usually because we force we force the conversation around. Hey, you're going to get your tax filing here. Now's the time to catch up. How did your call it late winter tax collection for your portfolio work out?
We actually were pretty high. I would have to look at the number where we ended up. But I know I had a conversation with our rent collector, and he said that the tax season definitely helped. So a lot of same thing like you're saying, a lot of the people that were a month or two behind that we knew that were catching up, they were on payment plans and things like that. All of a sudden, made a lump sum and caught up. So we had one person we got the eviction granted, and a day later the return came in, and she made a 10 grand payment to be able to stay in the building last minute. So yeah, we're seeing those and seeing people get saved by these tax returns.
So maybe it's a good thing to put out there as a baseline for people, but we track 0 to 30. That's really the big number that we track, 0 to 30 delinquency against total rent roll. And our goal and we track in two different numbers. We track AB class and CD. Now, sometimes AB or B and C can be subjective, but we run and we actually run an A, B, C, D, E internal tracking for that. So it's really A, B, and CD for us is how we track it. But our goal with A or B class rents, 0 to 30 days old, past due, is always to try to be under that 3%. And we usually hit that by the end of the month. And then for CD class, our goal is to be under 10%, which usually takes us to the last day of the month. And that's 0 to 30. I'm not saying that's uncollectible, right? So they might pay, half of a payment on the 15th, and then they don't pay the other half till the first of the next month. And they're always kind of, how I think rental collections, especially in the CD in the area you play, and ends up being a 80-20 thing. 20% of them is just like you chase from the day they move in. And you're always half a month behind. You're always threatening this. It's just, it sucks because it can become such a contentious relationship when you're just trying to be the greasy wheel, and they do mean well, but they're tight. So
Yeah.
Where do you guys benchmark it? Is that close?
Yeah, pretty much. Along I'd say we're pretty close along the same line.
Yeah, I think we have one person that's all they do is I explain to new clients, especially bus chops all day, which is how they kind of self-describe it. And a lot of it's just kind of trying to hold them accountable. Hey, you said you're gonna, because here's the reality of it. The lease is what's supposed to hold you accountable, and the lease says you're supposed to pay on the first. It's like, all right, well, you weren't accountable to what you signed and agreed to, so now we're going to call you every couple of days to make sure you're on track. And okay, when you're getting paid again, like, so a lot of people look at collections as harassment, but it's like, hey, listen, we're just kind of following up on the accountability that the tenant did not follow through with at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, it's a lot. If I'm a tenant, I'd rather have someone annoying me than, I've seen some landlords that file eviction on the fifth. Like you see them in these groups, and I have no idea if they're real or not. But these people in some of these Facebook groups that talk about, oh no, if my tenant's late on the fifth, I serve the 5 days already going to court. I'm like, I don't know about that. Let's get, generally speaking, charge a late fee, and obviously if it gets out of hand, then that's a different thing. But people have things happen. If you've ever been late on your mortgage, like try that out. Pay your mortgage late and see how many times they call you. It's every day, once a day, twice a day. Sometimes they're sending you messages. That's honestly how, as a landlord, you should be, because it's your right to collect that rent and to not allow them to get any farther. And a lot of times, if you're the one that's the most annoying, going back to, when money gets tight, they have choices of, do I pay Mark the money I owe him for rent, or do I pay Tim the money I owe him for a personal loan that he gave me, blah, blah, blah. If you're calling him every day and I'm not, it's a lot easier to pay you so the phone shuts up than to pay me because I'm not following up on it. So you want to get in their head as that choice of, all right, let me just make this payment.
Yep. Greasy wheel. And we just recently, I said recently, probably the last 6 months, started having collections work on Saturday mornings as well too, because you have a lot of people that say they're going to promise to pay on Friday. They get home, they go to work, and they're going to pay, and then they don't pay, and then by the time you hit a Monday, either that they ghost you till Tuesday or Wednesday and don't have the money, or they tell you, listen, this came up and I had to go spend money somewhere else. So back to that greasy wheel, our collections have done better since we've started collecting on Saturdays.
And take that, and to your point, the money runs out, right? Unless if you're starting the eviction, that's a different story, right? Once you file the eviction, and I think a lot of people get this confused. I serve Mark a 5-day because he doesn't pay me my rent. If he pays me half the rent on day 3, I can accept that and still file eviction on day 5. Now on day 6, if he pays me half the rent, that 5-day notice, and I accept it, that 5-day notice is void. So I think that's a major misconception in both ways, where landlords don't realize that they can't accept half the rent after day 5. And then also, I think a lot of landlords take it too far and don't realize that if someone gives them $100 on day 2, that 5-day notice is still good until the 5 days.
Yeah, so we have a rule that if you're behind, if you have a 5-day out, you have to pay at least 50%. That's to make it worthwhile. And back to your point of you said you sometimes see these guys in the groups that want to evict after day 4 or 5. I had a guy that in March called me up on like day 3. He's like, I need an attorney because the attorney I want to use isn't that aggressive. And I'm like, oh man, he's 33 days behind. You should definitely get on. He's like, no, he's 3 days behind. I'm like, whoa. That's so I had to jump on the call with the guy, and he's like, yeah, I talked to this attorney who I've talked to. He helped me in the past, and he does evictions. And he's the one. He even said, he's like, yeah, don't evict yet. He's like, I just don't. I don't know if I trust him anymore. I'm like, no, man, like he's giving you good advice, because when that person goes and pays,
at that point, they can't even charge a late fee yet.
I know. So like, I'm like, man, like this guy was really anxious too about the whole scenario about him not paying. I'm like, man, like how long is the guy? He's like, I want to get rid of him too. I'm like, man, how long has the guy been? He's like 4 years. I'm like, has he ever been late before? He's like, no, not this bad. I'm like, that is bad. Like you're literally like hours late, not even like days. Even it's hard to even count days at this point. And I did refer him another attorney, and I said, hey, I'm just telling you right now, like, here's a guy I trust him. They're gonna probably tell you the same exact thing, and I'll tell you from an investor or a property manager, like, man, if you go file for eviction and that guy ends up, he could show up to court. The judge can probably make you accept it, just because you're being kind of unreasonable for what, unfortunately, the standard is around here.
Well, it's not even make you accept by law. You have to accept if they come with 100% of the rent, the eviction's automatically dropped.
That's so that's part of the Cook County piece, though, right? This was a DuPage County one, but in Cook County,
I forget. Yeah, you are actually okay. That's right. You are in other. I forget that sometimes.
yeah, that forced me to look it up because
you're in the nice counties.
Yeah, even more so. So it's DuPage County. So it's like, man, like the attorneys are even more lax out here. Like, hey, man, like don't worry about it. Like the guy was gonna, more likely it's DuPage County. The guy's gonna probably pay. Like those kind of the attorneys, what he said. But yeah, no, but still, a judge will probably still, if you put that guy in court and you end up in court day 35 or whatever, and the guy shows up with the 2 months rent, like more likely the judge is going to say, you got to accept this. Like that's going to be a hard argument, or especially if that tenant then takes the free legal advice in there as well too. So it's like, but it's like, man, like I started doing the math to the guy. I'm like, dude, you really want to get rid of this guy? Like why don't you just like give him a few days?
Yeah. Have you asked what happened? Yeah. And that is the number one training that, and I don't know if you had this with your rent collection team or not, but like finding out what's real versus what's fake when you're collecting rent. Like, hey, I got into a car accident yesterday. I can't give me 2 weeks. I'll make a payment. Okay. Let's tell him to make as much as he can. Make 10% or 20%, put a down payment on it, whatever, we'll figure it out. Or, hey, I had to, bury my mom. So I'm a little short this month. Okay, we'll work on that. We'll figure it out. With that being said, each person gets one mom, one dad, two grandmas, you can't not have your homework for 10 dead grandmas. But then, this is still one that stuck out with me because I had to do training on it when my guy was newer. Yeah, I'm late because I had to pay for my kids' tuition. Well, September's been coming for, September's it's the 9th month every year I've ever been alive. So to claim that was a surprise and you weren't expecting that is a little bit odd. And I think that's the big difference. If the excuse is something that they could have prepared for, you got to go hard on them. If it's something that's unexpected, they lost a job, got sick, something like that, figure out something compelling, a payment plan, something where you can get them on their feet, especially if they're for 4 years. What's the average of a tenancy? 3 years?
It's like 33 months. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's already banking extra money on this guy that is above average. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I guess you're going to, it kind of makes me want to go back and my team and ask them, but how we're handling this these days. But I know when I was running collections, at one point I did everything, right? You did too. And, if they said their car accident, I used to always be like, that's fine. Do me a favor. Just send me over the police report and I'll put it on file. That way I could buy you some time. And I always try to take it from the approach that I'm on your side. Hey, man, I'll help you out. Just show me what you need, like some sort of proof. Now, it was amazing how often like, oh, no, I ended up borrowing the money I got and I paid it. I paid it to you. When you play it cool and be like, hey, man, now don't get me wrong. I am not going to ask for a death certificate. Now, or look for maybe I might look up an obituary, but that might be I'll have to take it for the word for it. But no, mom died once already, and dad is still alive. But when it comes to the other stuff, like, hey, I got towed and I had to do this, or I had to pay.
Show me something. Show me the receipt.
Hey,
show me.
And I usually keep it casual. Hey, that's fine. I'll work with you. Just send me over something. Show me that's what happened, so I could show the owner what went on. That way, I could help you. Help me help you. Send me something over to show it. So
yeah, I
do it.
I'm 100%, and my guy knows to use this line, and frankly, I use it a lot. I'm curious how much you use it back when you wore all the hats, but I would tell them I have to go take it to give this to me so I can send it to my boss, and so he can approve it, and I can stop calling you. Like like my guy is because the tenants will yell and say, "Stop! I know I owe it. Stop calling me." The rebuttal to that my guy has to say is, I would love to. Unfortunately, per my job duties, I have to call you every day as long as these conditions aren't met. Now, if you can show me that ticket or the tow ticket or whatever, like you said, I cannot call you for a week and leave you alone for a week. I can buy you some time, but that's what I have to do to keep my job. So, and you become that friend with them, like you said. I'm on your side. Like the other guys is the bad guy, but I need to keep my job. So let's work together to get this.
Yeah, well, I'm curious to know how you would handle it. You know, I'm all about payment plans, right? You pay me some, and and maybe give me another date that you're going to pay the rest, and just kind of get back on track. How's your team set up payment plans, and how much do you make them pay? Like, I'm big about like, hey man, like I'll work with you here, but you got to put something down today to start this payment plan. How do you roll that out with your portfolio?
Yeah, so it really depends on the situation, and what the cause was, right? For me, the biggest thing there's hey, I'm going to be a week late. Cool, pay whatever you can right now. Let's get a couple $100s in for good grace. And it comes down to this, right? Like you said, something pops up, and all of a sudden they had $400, and they were going to get $600 next week, and then pay you the 1,000. Take the 400 right now, because that 400 can go away. Whereas if they already paid the 400, now they only owe you the 6. But I'm a big component. If it's something big, right? Like, hey, I just got laid off, right? But I'm already applying for jobs. I'm gonna get another job in 2 weeks, right? And they're behind. What I'll try to do is spread that, is basically make a payment plan where, like, let's say we're doing it this month. You just got fired. You're my tenant. Hey, I understand April's late. Let's work out a plan where we make sure that May is paid on time, and that you can handle that payment. Plus, we'll do an extra X amount every month until you're paid off. So I want to make sure, because if something legitly happened, that's the right word, legitly happened, and you push too hard, you might actually put them into a spot where they fall farther behind. Because you know what, I can't. You want me to make 100% payment right now, and I can't, and I know that, so I'm not going to make any payment. Whereas if you're allowing me to make, hey, I'm going to pay you a couple $100 right now, and then let's set up a plan where, hey, I know I'm going to be good for May 1st to make that rent, and then on the 15th I'll give you a couple hundred, and we'll just keep that going for a little while until it's paid off, to let you catch up.
Yeah, I think another thing that we don't do enough anymore, but I used to do it all the time. And then COVID, it was a big thing too. It's like, all right, you need some relief, right? So right now it's April, but your lease is coming up June 1st. So why don't we do this? Why don't we skip April? You start paying towards May, and then we'll sign a new lease you'll sign another 12-month lease, and your rent was going to be 1,200, and your rent is 1,200, and maybe we'll just make your new lease 1,300. So again, kind of spread that $100 over the rest of the new lease, and it helps them kind of stay on track, and they're focused on May now, making that payment. But we won't sign the new lease until they pay May rent, just to show that they're not just full of it, and they're going to actually put their kind of effort into it. The good faith, kind of what you said before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. EO Aristotle had a good question. It's more for you, because you work in these, but since you brought it up, Will County, DuPage County. I know the answer is not Cook County.
Yeah. Well, I'll actually probably go as far as saying that any county that's outside of the 6 counties is probably easier, but there's probably the investment opportunity is a lot lower. Not probably, I know it is. But I think Will ends up being, man, they're pretty tenant friendly when you really break it down. When it comes on I'm sorry, not tenant friendly. They're a lot more landlord friendly, and at the same time, they're also very against crime as well too. They do not want what happens in Cook County seeping into Will County and put up with the same BS there. So they are a hell of a lot less tolerable just to ruckus going on in their county. Let's put it that way. But Kane County is fairly easy too. Somebody asked me for an eviction attorney in Kane County, and it made me realize it's like, man, our attorneys that we use for Cook and do they'll handle the one-off ones in Kane County, but they won't take a referral for that. It's like, man, I even have anyone to refer for Kane or McHenry County last week when I was asked. So it just happens so few and far between that those, one, you're probably getting a better quality tenant. Two, you probably have just things are just a little more user friendly. And so anywhere outside of Cook. And I think his next question here was he'd be interested in the perspective on Lake County. How does it compare to terms of landlord friendliness, tenant laws, and overall? Well, so Lake County does not have their own ordinance. And so a couple things there. Lake County really falls under the Illinois Rental Act. They don't have their own county. They have some cities that have rental licenses, but very few in Lake or McHenry County have rental licenses. It's fewer than like 20% have actual rental licenses that you have to follow. So just that less of issues. Now, like places like Buffalo Grove, you are fall in Cook County and Lake County. So you have to make sure you're where you're at in the county. But Buffalo Grove does have rental license. But when you get farther up there, like around lakes and Inglesides and there's a hell of a lot less stuff. Now, you get into Waukegan and Gurnee, it's a lot more rentals, so they put a lot more restrictions around it. And those markets, I like to kind of compare it to something more like Elgin, Aurora, Joliet. Just some of those older rental areas have some more ordinances and some more rules you got to follow. But still, it's still not Chicago at that point.
In McHenry, are you seeing more? I'm trying to think of what McHenry actually encompasses, but is it more B class than C and D in general, or is there some C and D out there too?
Well, there's I probably would say more C than anything, but keep in mind, McHenry County goes all the way out to like almost Harvard. So like Marengo, Hampshire, and those areas are all pretty nice. A lot of new construction rentals. But when you get up into like Woodstock, McHenry, the city, Crystal Lake, they have a lot of these smaller, call it 4 to 12 unit buildings, but they're all like 1 to 2 bedroom type places. So rents are all in the kind of the $1,200-1,300 range, which have gone up considerably. They've gone up from about $800 about 5-6 years ago, and they're up higher. But the expectations aren't crazy either. So it's just a clean, safe, and functional place up there. And you get it rented, no problem. So there's plenty of renters up there as well too.
Nice. All right, so wrapping that up, what out of the 6 collar counties, what would be your pick, Will? Or
so if you're going to tie this together, what has the most opportunity? I think if you're going to buy something today, hold it for 20 years, I still think DuPage County has the most opportunity if you're going to invest in and want to maximize your investment, right? Maximize your opportunity costs. So I would say DuPage first. It's probably the only red county surrounded by all blue around it. So I think there's so much opportunity there. Rents, prices, there's limited inventory. All they're building is new construction rentals at $350 a square foot rental rate. And new construction starts at about $650,000 to $800,000. So there's tons of opportunity there if you get an older, smaller single family home, which is some of the stuff I focus on. But then I think second, you get into it probably be a tie between Kane and Will County. Kane, you still have these opportunities for some of these cheaper rents or rentals, entryways around the Elgin and Aurora type communities, with still having something fairly new. And so I think you'd have those three, but kind of Kane and Will be tied. And I'd probably rate it based on where you're geographically located or what your property manager is stronger in.
Cool. No, makes sense. I like it.
So, all right, man. Well, this will kind of wraps up. Any closing thoughts?
No, I'm looking forward to week 12. We'll see what we'll have an endless stream now with your new AI tool of knowing what's coming out. So we'll have a lot to talk about going forward with it, and it'll be interesting.
I'll make sure I'm sharing this with you on the daily. That way you can stay on top of it, because I'm good at I think you and me make a good partnership in the sense I'm good at the headlines, you're good at the details. So we could serve whoever's watching this in the future well. So I'm looking forward to that too. All right. Anybody has any questions on a tenant? You have a situation. Obviously you heard that somebody ran by a Section 8 situation by me earlier, and I'm always willing to take calls and point them in the right direction, see if I can help as well. I'm sure Tim is too. You could you can find us on our websites here through the contact us, or Instagram or LinkedIn. Just message us. We're everywhere. You can find Tim Harstead or Mark Ainley. We are always open to questions or topics you want to hear about. And without further ado, we will see you next week. Thanks, guy.